This episode of the D-Lew Podcast is brought to you by Happy Wrap. You ever wanted to design your very own gift wrapping paper? Now is your chance to do so. Whether it's for the holiday season, weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, no matter what the occasion calls for, you can use Happy Wrap to wrap your gifts. As a matter of fact, you can even design notebooks, greeting cards, gift tags, and so much more. You can sign up today at happy.thedlewpodcast.com and use the promo code DLEW to get your 10% discount at checkout. Again, that's happy.thedlewpodcast.com and use promo code DLEW to get your 10% discount at checkout. By Simpler Hair Color. Hey guys, are you tired of using that drugstore hair dye brand that isn't getting the job done? If you want to use a great product to cover those grays, have no fear, Simpler Hair Color is here. No mixing, no dripping, no mess. It's super easy to use, whether you're a beginner or a pro. Go to simpler.thedlewpodcast.com and use promo code DLEW10 for your 10% discount at checkout. Again, that's simpler.thedlewpodcast.com and use my promo code DLEW10 for your 10% discount at checkout. And by WWE Shop with Fanatics. Get your favorite WWE Superstars merchandise and wear them proud with superstars like the OTC Roman Reigns, Rhea Ripley, the Second City Saint CM Punk, John Cena, Main Event Jey Uso, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, and so many more. Oh, by the way, they got some really cool championship belts in there as well. So go to wrestling.thedlewpodcast.com. Again, that's wrestling.thedlewpodcast.com so you can go to WWE Shop with Fanatics. This podcast is a Believe Network and Siete production. Welcome to the season premiere episode of the D-Lew Podcast brought to you by Believe Network. I'm your host, Derrick T. Lewis, and it feels so good to be back. I definitely needed, these last, 3 weeks or so to recharge and get ready for 2025. And 2025 is off to an incredible start in the world of professional wrestling. Of course, there's all of these partnerships, not only happening here in America, but over in Japan as well. It's crazy. There's Saturday night's main event that's coming up. There's the Royal Rumble that's coming up, in the next couple of weeks or so. All these, people potentially leaving AEW. It's insane. But of course, the matriarch of the D-Lew Podcast when it comes to the world of professional wrestling, Gabi, is here joining us to talk about all of the last couple of weeks of 2025 when it comes to the world of professional wrestling. And let's not wait any longer. The first few weeks of 2025 for pro wrestling with me and Gabi starts right now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the season premiere of the D-Lew Podcast, and we have to start 2025 off with a bang. And of course, the matriarch of the D-Lew Podcast, whenever we're talking about the world of professional wrestling, the one and only Gabi. Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year. How are you?
It was a nice break that I needed, and I feel refreshed. I feel great, and I'm ready to talk some wrestling. So let's go. So, we started off 2025, with the WWE moving Monday Night Raw to Netflix on January the 6th at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California, right next to SoFi Stadium, and I got to tell you, I was reading the official write-up by Variety before we get into just the specifics, but it says the first episode of WWE's Monday Night Raw to stream live on Netflix pulled in 4.9 million views globally. That's according to Live Plus One data provided by Netflix, with a view defined as total hours viewed for the program divided by its runtime. The 4.9 million views came in from countries like the US, UK, Canada, and Latin America, but did not include 92 countries and territories where Netflix doesn't yet distribute WWE, including France, Germany, India, Italy, Japan, the Philippines, and South Korea. The Netflix debut of Raw was also viewed by 2.6 million households in the US, according to Video Amp, compared to the 1.2 million households Raw was averaging in 2024. Raw previously aired on the the NBC Universal owned linear cable channel USA Network, with the last episode airing on that network on December 30th. So, talk about, we're talking legit 4.9 million views, and they're not even including the other countries yet.
Hmm.
Talk about your thoughts on that debut episode.
So I loved it. The production was amazing. Like you can tell they have new cameras. I mean, you can't shoot or show 4K on regular television. So like that right there has the advantage. They had a
Right.
drone going in the building. Like just
Mm-hmm.
the production value was insane. There was pyro. There was more pyro than normal. Like it just showed how far ahead of the game they are versus everybody else.
Yeah, and I mean, the opening was this had this big, I guess, sheet around the ring,
Hmm.
and Triple H was narrating this monologue about the past, the present, and the future, and dropped some wrestling insider terms, which was like it kind
Hmm.
of rattled some of our wrestling veterans. Some liked it, some didn't like it too much. When he was using heel, babyface, shoot, work, all that stuff. You know what I mean? And of course, the sheet comes down and it's Triple H, and he's welcoming to the new era, the Netflix era of WWE. And of course, The Rock comes out. The Rock comes out, and everyone's expecting the final boss, but this was business Rock
Hmm.
thanking, obviously Ari Emanuel, for Endeavor, TKO, and all the Netflix partners and everything. So this was mainly the business side. So there was no anything. I was expecting, oh, the final boss is back, and we didn't get it. I was very surprised. How about you?
Um, I wasn't because everyone knows like the OG Rock, the Rock that he was kind of portraying that night. Not everyone knows the final boss character. So obviously, with it being the first time on Netflix, they wanted to kind of resonate with those fans who would recognize him from that era.
I can see that.
So it kind of made sense to me for him to be that version of the Rock versus the one that you'd have to be watching for a while to understand.
Very, very true. Then, of course, Roman, he did face Solo Sikoa in the
Hmm.
tribal combat match to get the Ula Fala, and Roman Reigns indeed did win the match. He is the tribal
Hmm.
chief. He got the Ula Fala back, but The Rock comes out. He walks down the aisle, and I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. He's about the latest SmackDown. He's going to turn on Roman, and he gave him the Ula Fala. He gave it to him. I'm like, this is interesting. It was just a lot of things I didn't expect. You know what I mean? And of course, I don't know if everyone noticed. There's a lot of what do you call it? The in the ring on the apron, not the apron, but on the wrestling the mat. You have all these advertisements. So
Hmm.
one of them being Real American Beer, and the owner and the proprietor, because apparently WWE and Real American Beer has some type of partnership where WWE has some type of ownership to it, I think. But the proprietor of Real American Beer is the Red and Yellow Man. And he comes out with Jimmy Hart, and he's doing his whole Hulkamania stick. And this man was booed. This man was booed. And if you had your closed captioning on Netflix, it does say in the closed captioning in parentheses, crowd booing.
Hmm.
What were did you think that was, and it was just a small section. I wasn't expecting an entire arena to boo him. Your thoughts?
It was perfect. I loved it. I loved it. No
Um
notes. Loved it.
I mean, for those that know or don't know, I don't reference his wrestling name anymore. I promise I said I wouldn't do it on this show because I'm not gonna lie to you. When that tape was unearthed and he said the things that he said in regards to people of color, and it was somebody like myself that idolized this man as a child. I mean, really, I was the biggest Hulkamaniac ever. And to hear the words that he uttered, he even said himself that, yeah, I am a racist.
Hmm.
It's just one of those things. And the problem also that I had was the fact that when he was brought back into the fold with WWE, he really didn't apologize. It was more or less saying, guys, you got to watch, where you are, who's recording you. You never know. But I'm just like, you're not taking accountability, bro.
Hmm.
You're not taking any type of accountability whatsoever. So for me, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people, you know, didn't mess with him. Obviously, the Undertaker came out, and did the deal with Rhea Ripley, and people were saying, "Oh, it was political." No, because if you know the Undertaker, we know which way he goes politically, and Undertaker had one of the biggest pops of the night.
Hmm.
So nah, it's just the fact that the red and yellow man is just a crappy human being. So
Hmm.
that's where it is. Of course, the main event that night was CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. I got to tell you, Seth coming out, with the red, that long red jacket with the shades. I thought that looked really, really cool. And
Hmm.
Punk coming out with the jacket that he used to wear when he was in Ring of Honor, which I thought was symbolic considering the fact that where they both got started. So,
Hmm.
and they told a really, really good story in the ring. I liked what they were able to do in there. They did that same spot that Punk and Moxley did at AEW's All Out, I believe,
Hmm.
and that's how the match ended. And and by the way, it was really cool for Punk to shut out Chris Bay. And I think as we're recording this on a Tuesday night, RVD put out there today that Chris Bay is recovering, and it's a slow recovery, but he's getting better. So prayers goes out to dashing Chris Bay, and I hope that, number one, wrestling aside, I hope that he can actually just walk again, whatever it is that's going on with him. So I did happen to stumble upon something today, and I want to get your thoughts on it because it's kind of relative to WWE. I just got this on CNN Business. It says that Netflix announced today that it will raise its prices on most of its subscription tiers in the US and Canada after the streaming giant reported 19 million new subscribers in the last quarter of 2024. The jump in subscribers, Netflix biggest ever, puts the streaming giant at 302 million globally, solidifying the company's hold on the top spot in the industry. Netflix attributed the service's latest success to the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul boxing match in November, which said drew 108 million viewers worldwide, making it the most streamed sporting event ever. Netflix later hosted two Christmas Day NFL games, which averaged 30 million global viewers, making them the most streamed football games in history. Subscriptions were also buoyed by the success of Squid Game Season 2, the platform's biggest premiere to date, which drew 68 million views in its first week. Earlier this month, Netflix also added WWE Raw live broadcasts on Monday nights. The price increases announced Tuesday will see the standard monthly membership without advertisements increase from $15.49 to $17.99, while the standard account with ads will rise $1 to $7.99. Its highest price premium tier, which includes 4K video quality, will increase by $2 to $24.99. Um, I have my issues with that because my thing is that if you guys are making profit off of your existing price now, why increase it? Well, I guess they have to make that $5 billion back from WWE somehow, right? So
I think they're raising their price regardless. I mean, Netflix has been known to raise their prices. I mean, that unfortunately is part of life. Inflation is real, so I'm not shocked at it. I'm annoyed at it, but I'm not shocked.
it's wild because, like I said, I like Netflix. I mean, I remember when Netflix was just a DVD delivered. You can just get it. You can get it delivered or whatever the case may
Hmm.
be. I know they had boxes at certain, whether it was like a Walgreens or anything like
Hmm.
that. It was a lot of that stuff, but it's interesting, to see, how this all pans out. But I'm only going to imagine as other countries are able to get WWE on Netflix, and as WWE also migrates all of its data to Netflix
Hmm.
because obviously I have a feeling that the Peacock thing is going to be a done deal. I think in 2026, if I'm not mistaken, 'cause that was a 5-year deal they signed. So I
Hmm.
think that's going to be a slow migration. If you're going to, because you're starting to see it now. A lot of old Raws are on Netflix. A lot of old stuff
Hmm.
are going on Netflix, and also too, the YouTube channel WWE Vault, which by the way, I've been getting a kick out of that because there's a lot of stuff that was never on the network that's now appearing on the Vault. So I want to talk about a little TNA, if you don't mind. If we could just turn the page a little bit. Obviously, this past weekend, TNA had their pay-per-view, Genesis. And first and foremost, we got to congratulate the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. I believe, you believe, we believe in Joe Hendry. I mean, you want to talk about we literally saw a rise in a superstar. You know what I mean? So congrats to him on that. But there was also a match between Jordan Grace and a returning Tessa Blanchard, which I never thought was going to happen. However, during the match, now mind you, they're in Texas
Hmm.
and they are chanting, "You're a racist" at Tessa Blanchard.
You know how
The
racist you got to be to
geographic
get called a racist in
in
Texas?
Texas, I was like, oh my God. So it's deep, man. I mean, what were your thoughts on that when you first saw that footage?
I wasn't shocked. I mean, we don't forget. And like the yellow man, he she didn't acknowledge it. She just kind of was like, it happened. You know what I mean? Like there was never any accountability for that. So like I'm not shocked at all.
Yeah, because
Good.
the crazy thing was is that you had heard, I mean, this is a few years ago now, but there were women that came out. I know Chelsea Green has spoke out about it on just how
Hmm.
much of a bully she was, talking down to women. And it's crazy because I know Sean Ross Sapp, shout out to Sean Ross. He was saying that had that not happened, Tessa Blanchard probably would have been a multi-time WWE Women's Champion by now. Is it safe to say that?
Her ability's never been the issue.
Absolutely.
So that tracks.
It's crazy, man. But speaking of TNA, it was announced just a few days ago that the WWE and TNA announced a multi-year partnership. And I'm reading off of WWE's corporate page, and it says
Hmm.
WWE, part of TKO Group Holdings and TNA Wrestling, one of the world's top wrestling brands, and a subsidiary of Anthem Sports and Entertainment, today announced a multi-year partnership aimed at creating unprecedented crossover opportunities within WWE and TNA programming for NXT superstars and TNA wrestling stars. The agreement will enable talent to garner additional exposure across key WWE and TNA programming, including weekly flagship shows such as NXT, which airs live on the CW, and TNA Impact, select WWE premium live events and TNA pay-per-views, in turn bolstering their in-ring development with exposure to world-class talent and coaching. This historic relationship demonstrates that collaboration and competition do not have to be mutually exclusive, says Ariel Scherner, Senior Vice President in Content and Distribution for TNA Wrestling and Anthem Sports Entertainment. Our partnership allows the TNA Wrestling brand and its incredible athletes to reach a significantly wider audience while giving WWE and NXT stars an opportunity to cross the line and gain valuable experience as they join forces with one of the most talented rosters in professional wrestling today. The response to our collaboration over the past year has been tremendous, and both companies have benefited. But the fans have reaped the greatest rewards for this talent crossover and working relationship. And Shawn Michaels mentioned that we look forward to growing and evolving our partnership with TNA Wrestling and its outstanding group of athletes by creating new opportunities to and development further the development of our talent and to elevate the viewer experience at home. So what, because you had sent me the news when it broke,
Hmm.
and I responded by saying, was I shocked? No, but I'm glad it happened. Your thoughts?
Um, I'm glad that It's finally happened. I'm glad that it's a mutually beneficial relationship. I think that's very important to note. They've had other
Hmm.
partnerships that have not been as mutually beneficial.
Right.
Um, and it's just the natural progression. Like we've mentioned multiple times, TNA stays in their lane. They are not competitive WWE at all, in my opinion. They do what they do and they do it well. So it only everyone talks about how WWE never partners with anybody, and then the
Hmm.
minute they get a chance to, they finally do. Um, so yeah, I'm very happy. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, because I mean, historically, we all know that there was only a few times where WWE kind of got in bed, so to speak, with another
Hmm.
promotion. And now, back in the day, back in the territories was a little bit different because a lot of the territories, the owners would mainly use, for example, if Vince McMahon Sr. had Andre the Giant, and let's just say Eddie Graham in Florida had Dusty Rhodes, they said, "All right, we'll give us Dusty, but you can have Andre." You know what I mean?
Hmm.
They did stuff like that. But then obviously, once VKM got a stranglehold on the industry, it was kind of like a forbidden thing to do. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
all of that being said, the first time that I can remember that another promotion was working with the WWE was ECW.
Hmm.
96, 97, and the first time that happened was, if I'm not mistaken, it was In Your House Mind Games during the Justin Hawk Bradshaw Savio Vega match, and I was watching. I'm like, that's Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman at ringside. Why are they there? They were at ringside, and Paul Heyman was there too. And of course,
Hmm.
Sandman spit beer, in Savio's face, and then that's when they got into the tussle. And apparently, a lot of the wrestlers weren't supposed to know.
Hmm.
Like they thought that it was about to get real because they weren't smartened up. They wanted to make it look like a shoot. And then of course, that was leading up to WWE ultimately helping ECW promote their first pay-per-view, Barely Legal, April
Hmm.
13th, 1997. So that was all that leading up to, because I believe it was an episode of Monday Night Raw in February of 97 where ECW invaded Raw when they did the episode at the Manhattan Center. So,
Hmm.
the Dudley Boys, performed on there. Obviously, I believe it was Taz. I
Hmm.
believe it was Taz that performed, and of course, Sabu. You remember how they used to have the big RAW in the aisleway back in the day.
Hmm.
Sabu jumped off the freaking R, but they said he fell, but it looked like he actually fell. But
Hmm.
those are the only time I could remember where WWE did that partnership. Now, fairly recently, AEW worked with Impact when it was Impact before they changed back to TNA, but it wasn't favoring TNA,
It didn't
right?
favor anybody.
Because I know they
Honestly, it didn't
did
favor AEW either. It just
it favored Kenny Omega because he was the belt collector.
Yeah, it favored him, but he was only on the show for like 5 minutes at the end of the show. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't like actively like working and doing the things that you would expect a partnership to do. He would show up the last like 3 minutes of the show, cut a promo, and then that would be it. So it wasn't beneficial to really anybody.
It wasn't, and I was because I was for me, I was like, okay, the reason that AEW obviously opened was for it to be an alternative.
Hmm.
Just like always thought that TNA was an alternative. So in my mind, in the beginning of it, when Tony Khan had announced that, Impact Wrestling was going to be doing a partnership with AEW, I'm thinking, oh,
Hmm.
this is going to be really, really cool for the industry. Two alternative companies, and they can do a talent exchange here or there, and everybody can benefit. And it really didn't. No, to your point, and I appreciate your take on that. No one benefited from it.
Hmm. No
and,
one.
and and that's a shame, man, because it's like there were so many endless opportunities, for that. And now you got a global juggernaut, and let's just call it for what it is. WWE is just a global juggernaut at this point. Like they
Hmm.
are superseding everything they've ever achieved from a monetary standpoint, from everything between the record crowds and sellouts that they've been doing, for the
Hmm.
past maybe year and a half, almost 2 years. I mean, it is what it is at this point. It's WWE, and then there's everybody else, and that's okay. Everybody else can still exist and make money.
Hmm.
But it's like we were talking about the Netflix thing, and you were just saying that it's levels to this at this point.
Hmm.
It is indeed levels, and they're superseding that. But that was I was again, I wasn't surprised, but here we are. And speaking of which, after the Genesis pay-per-view, it was obviously we've seen where Jordan Grace and Josh Alexander are wrapping up with TNA. So is that a matter of if, it's just a matter of when they show up for WWE. Apparently, this week Jordan Grace is going to be reporting to the Performance Center. Now, if you were, I don't know, Triple H, if you were the one in charge, if you were the chief content officer, Gabby, would you bring Jordan Grace up to the main roster right away, or would you have her in
Immediately.
NXT?
Immediately. She's already paid her dues as far as, I mean, if you look at the way she even communicates on Twitter and the way she does her interviews, she's learned the WWE style. She's already paid her WWE dues essentially by working NXT a few shows.
Mhm.
She, you know what I mean? Like she's gotten her NXT hits in already. So if they threw her on the main roster, I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, she was a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble. Of
She's
course,
built
she.
her name. Why would you know what I mean? Like it's one thing if you're NXT and TNA person, you're trying to like build yourself up. She's built her
Right.
name while she's built her name up in the WWE household while in TNA. Like she's pulled double duty. So like I would love to see her on the main roster.
Yeah, and I mean, like when she was walking by all the guys and girls, they gave her a replica TNA Knockouts
Hmm.
Championship, because she really, to me, besides her and Mickey James, there's been some other knockout champions, but Jordan Grace just looks like a superstar. The way she's
Hmm.
transformed her body, the way she's transformed her whole entire presentation. I mean, at this point, she's ready for
Hmm.
WrestleMania. I'll tell you this right now. I wouldn't be shocked if she shows up at the Royal Rumble and wins
Duh.
it.
Nah.
Nah.
I see her in the top. I see her in the top four.
Final, you
I
mean
see her in the
the
top
final
four.
four? Okay.
Final four. I see her in the final four. I don't know if she wins it. I think it's gonna be Charlotte, and I think Charlotte goes after Tiffy time, but that's another conversation another day.
Oh, for
But
sure, for sure. That the next week, next week we'll talk about that. But yeah, but seriously, like in Josh Alexander, I mean, he does have history with all ego. You
I
know
was
what I
gonna say I think
mean?
they're just gonna, yeah, I agree. That's where that's going.
I could totally see that happening, and it's great. And I mean, this is only, and I love now, like I said, that because this is unprecedented, where you're sending wrestlers to other, like for example, Shinsuke Nakamura wrestled on Noah's card. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They were on that card. Of course, you right now you have the giant Omos over in Japan becoming a star,
Hmm.
and I think with a guy like him, you got to have him as a special attraction.
Yes, agreed.
One of the mistakes that Vince McMahon did with the Big Show is that he overexposed him.
Hmm.
A guy that special, 7'2", 500 pounds, you got to keep him special like Andre. See, back in the day, Andre, you barely saw Andre on TV. That's how you made him special. When he showed up, it was about to get real. Andre's here. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I know in the modern day, it's hard to how do I even phrase this? You with social media, you're gonna see people, you're gonna see wrestlers all over the place. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
for the viewing television shows and that type of thing, whether it's Netflix or Peacock or whatever, you know, they have to really, really try their damnedest to ensure that they keep Omos as a special attraction. What's your thoughts on that?
Um, I'm curious to see how this is gonna play out. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if they're just sending him over there to something for him to do, and he comes back and does nothing. Like I want to see the other side of this. So I'm kind of curious how this plays out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's a tag team champion over there or something like that. He won a
Hmm.
title. So I mean, that just goes to show you how much they really value what he can do. He did a last ride on somebody recently. I'm like, oh my God, that dude is like
Yeah.
7'5" or something like that. That is a
Hmm.
hard landing for sure. But there was a recent article that I saw regarding Conan. obviously he has the Keep It 100 podcast, and he was talking about Kenny Omega, a gentleman we were just talking about a few seconds ago. And he said he thinks it's time for Kenny to stop being a big fish in little ponds and calls for him to sign with the WWE. He says, it says on an episode of Keep It 100, Conan issues an opinion about Kenny Omega's career trajectory. Conan points out that Kenny Omega was unhappy working without a contract in 2023, a statement that isn't clear if it's the fact that Conan's interpretation of Omega's feelings. Quote, I know that he's working without a contract, which he wasn't happy about. I don't know how long he has on this contract, but bro, the guy's got to be 40, 41, 42, something like that. Is
Mhm.
that where you want to end your career? You already have a grip of 5-star matches. You don't got to prove anything else. Go to WWE and get the star treatment and don't be a big fish in a little pond. End quote. I need clarity from you on this because, like I said, when it comes to, because we all know that they are the major leagues. They are the major
Mhm.
leagues. They are the worldwide leader. Is he right? Or do you have to go there to say that you've been successful? What were your thoughts on what Conan had to say?
I'm a little torn. I see both sides of the coin, honestly. Kind of like you. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I see both sides of that coin for sure. I could definitely see. I don't know. That's a good question. I didn't see that quote until you mentioned it, so I haven't had time to stew on it, but I'm not sure.
Because to me, remember I put it to you this way. Remember, Kenny Omega was actually at Deep South Wrestling, which was WWE's farm system before they moved to Florida for FCW.
Hmm.
He was actually there. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you remember when the New Day and the Elite were doing that video game thing a few years ago.
Hmm.
They actually put up Kenny Omega's matches on the network, which I thought was pretty funny. His matches from Deep South, and he put up his
Hmm.
promos and everything. And it would be interesting if he were to show up. I think his presentation, just like I was talking about Jordan Grace a few minutes ago, I mean, think about all his gear that he would wear, for like, Wrestle Kingdom and the Terminator and all that type of stuff, creative stuff. If he's not happy in AEW, I mean, there's a phone call to be made.
Hmm.
I think Cody, him having a relationship with Cody, um, and the thing with Punk, I don't even think him and Punk have issues.
Yeah. I,
That yeah,
yeah.
I don't think him and Punk have issues at all. As a matter of fact, Kenny Omega was the one that was actually protecting the dog during
I was
Brawl
gonna
Out. You
say,
know what I mean? Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't. I think that wouldn't even be an issue. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But that's some. I mean, wow. Because for him not to finish up there would be. It's almost like we kept saying that about AJ Styles, right? We were
Yeah.
just saying like AJ accomplished all of these accolades, all of these accomplishments and everything. But I'm like, damn. If but we also were concerned what was what was VKM going to do with AJ Styles, and he saw money in him.
Hmm.
Like he said something about how he wanted AJ to be this pit bull and like really wanted to be this like really aggressive style. He really wanted him to have that. So
Hmm.
you know, my thing is with Kenny Omega, and we'll wrap this part of it up. But the answer lies within himself. That he's going to have to look in the mirror and just think about the next 4 to 5 years. Okay, what's the plan?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So we shall see. But it was announced yesterday, and I couldn't believe this is happening. That there's going to be a partnership. I mean, the year 2025 has just been crazy for pro wrestling. Over in Japan, 7 different Japanese promotions have come together for a new partnership called United Japan Pro Wrestling. The association includes New Japan Pro Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Noah, All Japan, Big Japan, DDT Pro Wrestling, Stardom, and Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. It will all be led by chairman Shinshiro Takagi. Um, what does this do for Japanese wrestling from a short-term and long-term perspective?
I mean, it makes it more mainstream, makes it more accessible. I know personally, I know friends and I have family who everything to them is NJPW, and it's like, no, no, there are other companies over there as well.
Right,
So I think that it just brings more brand awareness to various promotions that again are not NJPW and Stardom because those are the top two that everyone knows, right? You know NJPW, you know Stardom.
right.
So it kind of makes sense to again brand awareness, bring more attention to them.
My only question is, are they going to allow any foreign talent into that realm? Is my only thing.
I can see it. I mean, why not? You know, if you have someone, you have big names like Kenny and whomever who want to come work with you, why would you ever turn them down? You know?
Right. Yeah, that was one because I mean, I remember a time where All Japan and New Japan wanted nothing to do with the other.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like those were two rival companies, kind of like WWE and WCW. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So, like the fact that we're living in a time where WWE and TNA are working together, when you have all seven Japanese promotions working together, it that just goes to show you that the money is being made in wrestling right now.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's a trickle down effect from WWE to everybody else, and everybody else eats. So, best wishes to it's called the United Japan Pro Wrestling, and I'm interested to see what their big event's going to be. I would imagine
Hmm.
the Tokyo Dome would have to be the place. Will
Right.
will Wrestle Kingdom be the home of United Japan Pro Wrestling? Is that going to be is it going to be an exclusive New Japan thing, or is that going to be a United Japan thing? So we shall see as time presses forward, and I'm looking forward to that. But of course, this weekend is of course Saturday night's main event that's going to
Hmm.
be taking place in San Antonio, Texas, and right now, as we are recording this, there are currently, I'm just looking here for just a moment here. There's currently four matches that are signed, but of course, there's going to be the contract signing for the Royal Rumble between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. Now, we all know in contract signings, they usually don't end very well.
Something's gonna go awry. Yes.
It will. And you know what, though? Shawn Michaels is going to be the guy that's going to be overseeing this. So we shall see. I wish there was a special guest referee. See, for this ladder match, Shawn Michaels should have been the special guest referee, if you ask me.
Agreed.
That would have been really cool. But obviously he's a little tied up with
A little busy.
NXT, so a
A
little
little
busy.
busy.
So we'll see. So right now, out of the four matches, there are three championship matches, and I'll go with the first one with for the World Heavyweight Championship. The Ring General Gunther will take on main event Jey Uso. I love the promo the
Yeah.
promos that Gunther has been really cutting these days
Hmm.
because he is basically saying I am better than you, literally in every aspect of me being as a wrestler, as a human being. Like he was calling him a clown, a mask. He called him a mascot.
Hmm.
I said, man, like he was really going at him, but this gives an opportunity for Jey Uso once again to be seen in front of an even larger crowd in front, for a championship match. How do you see this one ending? Will they shock
Uh,
us?
no, not this particular match. So I don't think they will. However,
Mhm.
Jay has been a transitional champion before. So if they gave it
Right.
to him temporarily, it wouldn't surprise me. However, like I just can't see it. I just can't see it.
As much as I would love to see Jay win the title, I would. I mean, granted, it would shock us if they did pull a
Yeah.
swerve, but it will still be the world heavyweight champion Gunther, and We're gonna move on to the next match, which is for the Intercontinental Championship. Braun Breaker taking on Sheamus. Now, for me, I can't see Braun Breaker losing the title. I mean, it's considering that he was again, his first reign was a transitional situation, and I think that was more or less to kind of get the bloodline over it as being hated even more for costing Jay the IC title
Right.
when he lost it back to Braun Breaker. So storyline and the arc and the whole thing, how it was created, it made total sense. But this time around, I can't see it happening now because that's the only title that, and what I love that they're pushing this as the only title that Sheamus has never won. Now I still say Braun will retain, or it could be a double disqualification too. Never know. But I could totally see that if Sheamus was to win that title, I could see that happening at WrestleMania. Your thoughts?
I was gonna say if Ice Sheamus is gonna get that on the bigger stage, it's got to be one of the big four. It's got to be Mania. It's got to be SummerSlam. It's got to be one of the big ones. I do see him getting the title, but I don't see him getting it right now. I think it needs to be a bigger stage. And I understand I'm saying this is crazy. Monday Night Main Event is not a big stage. However, I think that for him to get his final title, like it would have to be on the bigger stage.
Agreed. I totally agree with you on that. All right, so we have a singles match between the monster of all monsters, Braun Strowman, and the Samoan werewolf, Jacob
Braun's
Fatu.
getting washed. Braun is getting washed.
Yeah, but I will say this. When they stood across from each other, I got freaking goosebumps, man. Because it's granted there's a high differential between the two, but Jacob Fatu's aura.
Yeah.
I
Like I
know
said,
that word is used a lot in modern vernacular, but Jacob Fatu, he's it. You know what I mean? And if it's a guy that could slay a giant, it could be Jacob Fatu. I could see, but again, it's like again with these type of situations to protect each wrestler, so it doesn't diminish them in either way. That could probably end in a count out. I could see a count out happening with these two. How about you?
Braun's getting washed.
It's
That
payback for
is my
beating,
answer.
yeah, for payback for beating Mello. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. That reminded me of Brock and Kofi Kingston. I didn't like that. I was like, really?
That's
You gonna
fair.
do that to Mello?
Yeah.
And speaking of Mello, by the way, did you hear him last week? He's calling Jimmy Uso Unk.
Yeah.
And what was crazy is that they had my man's music playing at the same time while he was talking smack. It reminds me
Mm-hmm.
of old Cena when he was doing his freestyles while the music was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible, incredible, incredible. And of course, the main event for the Women's World Championship. I don't know if it's the main event or not. It might be Rhea Ripley defending against Nia Jax. Now I'm confused because I was under the impression that they were going to have this Tiffany Nia Jax program. And all of a sudden, Nia's been appearing on Raw. Of course, we're taping this on Tuesday night. She attacked Rhea Ripley early in the night when Raw was coming on the air.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little confused on why they're not going to continue that story with Tiffany and Nia. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand it, and I don't see Rhea winning the belt to lose it this quickly. So, yeah.
Now I could totally see a Bailey costing Nia the match
In starting that program, I wouldn't. Sure, sure.
because it was announced that, and it was no surprise to anybody. You kind of saw it coming where Bailey is now officially a part of Raw. I'm trying to think, when was the last time Bailey was on Raw? It's been a
It's been
long
a minute.
time.
She's been hanging out on SmackDown. Pre Sasha. Excuse me, pre Sasha.
When she cut her hair and turned heel, that was on SmackDown. That was in
That's what I
2019,
mean. It's been a while.
right when they went on Fox. So
Mm-hmm.
she's been a staple on SmackDown for 5 years. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was definitely time, to kind of bring her back, and it's a fresh look, another new face, so to speak, on the show. But I definitely, like I said, to your point, I definitely see retaining. We can't see her winning it last, just recently just to lose it. Like that would make no sense at all. Winning it
Right.
at the Netflix Raw, and of course, and again, who knows? With who knows what's gonna happen with Liv Morgan? Are they gonna? How is she gonna get herself back in the title mix again? Who knows? So we'll definitely see about that. So all in all, what are your thoughts? As we close out of here, what are your thoughts on the first couple of weeks in 2025? We covered a lot of stuff today.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on the first couple of weeks of 2025 in the world of professional wrestling?
Um, I think that the stage is being set. I think that there have been so much advancement. There have been new people showing up. There have been new opportunities, new partnerships. I'm very curious to how it all plays out in the long run. I think it's a very exciting way to kick off the year, and I just look forward to watching some good wrestling.
I agree. Like, I mean, just seeing the evolution, like for example, like you were talking about it with the presentation with the drone cameras on Raw when they're going all in the upper deck, you know what I mean, and they're zooming past the announce table. It's another vantage point that the fan watching at home can see. I love the shot they did when Punk was walking down the aisle to face Rollins, when he had his back turned to the ring and you saw Punk walking backwards. That was a really, really, really cool shot. Speaking
Mm-hmm.
of Monday Night Raw and new faces, I totally forgot to talk about Penta. Oh my God.
Such a
I
star.
mean, they are making he is such a big deal in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They've made this man a big deal. His masks are selling, his t-shirts are selling. They upgraded his actual entrance where they got the thing going in the back with the thing going in the back, spinning fireworks. It's just like, man, this dude is going to be special. And I
Mm-hmm.
can't wait for when, of course, Ray Phoenix's deal is up with AEW and he can, make his way over. It's only a matter of time
Yeah,
between
for
him,
sure.
between Phoenix, between Miro, Ricky Starks, and Aleister Black. Man,
Wardlaw.
2025. Oh yeah, 2025 is going to be crazy. And for every wrestling fan that's watching this podcast and other podcasts, it is going to be a bumpy ride. And I mean that in the best way possible, because these are the things that we've been wanting. These are the things that we've been clamoring for. These are the things that wrestling fans have been wanting for a long time. All of these
Mm-hmm.
partnerships, who's showing up here, who's showing up there. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be very, very interesting. But as always, tell them where they can hear Lip Gloss and Ladders podcast. I know you've been doing an incredible job with that. You've also been covering the brand new women's basketball league. Tell them about that and what's been going on with you.
So you guys can find us my wrestling friends wrestling podcast at Lip Gloss and Letters. And you can find my content at Hi Gabrielle, which is here. I'm on all social media. I've been branching out into covering women's sports in general. So yes, we can talk wrestling, but I also talk women's basketball, women's tennis, you name it. I'm just here for the advancement of women in sports.
Yeah, and like I said, even with this show, we're going to be talking about not only wrestling, but we're going to start branching into not only other sports, but some pop culture as well, because
Mm-hmm.
we're well versed in that. We're more than just wrestling fans. We
Mm-hmm.
love all types of different things. So as this show progresses, you're going to be seeing Gabby and myself doing some really, really cool things, in the immediate and distant future. But where can they? You said they can find you at on all social media.
Yep. Hi Gabrielle.
Perfect. Well, again, Gabby, as always, I thank you very, very much for what you've done, what you're doing, what you'll continue to do for this platform. And this is an incredible way to kick off 2025. Like I said, we covered a lot today, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the future brings. All right.
Absolutely.
That does it for this week's edition of the D-Lew Podcast. Once again, I want to thank Gabby for all of her contributions to the show. And like I said, 2025 is going to be a tremendous year, for this show, Believe Network, and really for all pro wrestling content creators. We're all in this together, and I'm wishing all of my fellow colleagues and, contemporaries in this space, all the best in the coming year. But of course, this show wouldn't be where it is without you. And if this is your first time listening, subscribe on all platforms. I'm talking about Apple Podcasts, Spotify, even YouTube, my YouTube channel. You can look it up, The Real DT-Lew, or you can just look up Derrick T. Lewis and you can subscribe and you'll get all of my content, whether it's this show, obviously the D-Lew Podcast, my music videos, as well as my actor reel. So make sure you check that out. Also, social media, no matter if it's Facebook, IG, Threads, X, and even Blue Sky, follow the D-Lew Podcast at the D-Lew Podcast. In addition, of course, I'm on my own personal social media, The Real DT-Lew, on all of those platforms. I got merch. That's right, baby. I got all types of merch on my main store here. So shop.derricklewis.com. I have windbreakers now. I have tank tops, hoodies, shorts, even water bottles. I even got a freaking coffee mug. Go there now and get your merch and represent the D-Lew Podcast as best you can. Of course, on my Pro Wrestling Tees store, you can go to pwt.derricklewis.com. Well, I'm going to get out of here. And as I always say, no matter what it is you do in life, always remember to make it count. See you next time.